The Jive is live.
You heard it here first. The Jive is live. We're good to go for another edition of our weekly Aquatics Q&A with everybody's favorite aquatics enthusiast and video host, Thomas. Welcome.
Hi, Brian. How's it going?
I'm really happy this week.
You know why?
Yeah. Well, you know what? You tell them why I'm happy.
You know what?
You heard it here first. The Jive. Oh, we got an echo going on.
I'm the most happy because Brian did his job just now.
Finally.
Last week, Brian called me out because I promised I was going to bring him donuts that we had made, like homemade donuts.
Ages ago.
And I forgot them at home, and subsequently they were eaten by my family members and not by Brian. And he got sad. And so I said I would bring donuts this week.
Yeah.
And I just want to show you that I put my money where my mouth is.
And now they will be in my mouth. Let go of them. They're mine. All mine. So these were baked by Thomas and his lovely wife. Eva, if you're watching, thank you. I'm going to enjoy them all during this Q&A. There's probably not going to be any left. You had a couple. Obviously, they're yours.
You know what?
We'll see. We'll see how the Q&A goes.
It's hard to say no because they are absolutely delicious, but I also don't want to, like... Yeah. I want you to be able to share with your family.
I don't want to be rude. Would you like, no? Oh, no? Okay. All right. I'll save them for later maybe. So yes, I'm a happy camper this week because I have donuts to go along with our awesome Q&A. Hello to all of you out there joining us today. We're super jazzed to have you guys here with us for yet another edition of this Q&A. As usual, we're going to be taking as many questions as we can for you guys, all things to do aquatic, saltwater, freshwater, maintenance, fish, all that stuff. We'll get to as many as we can. For those of you who have urgent questions that you know maybe we can't get to it, the super chat is always an option. We do get to those if you guys are able to do that. Otherwise, we answer everything in sequence, and we'll do our absolute best to rocket through them as much as we can, and have our main man Thomas here give you all the pertinent information. With that said, if there are any really super detailed questions that are specific to your individual aquarium or fish or corals or plants, such as illnesses or something, it's always best to email our support team at head office. Yep. It's packed full of aquatics experts at the head office that are ready to help you if you send them photos of your problem and some context.
Yep. That's the reason, because there's too many follow-up questions. It's got to be a discourse, and it's tough to do that in this kind of a setup where we're trying to bang off one question at a time kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, they'll definitely, you can definitely ask, and I can give you general information if there is some I can provide without asking questions. But yeah, they'll definitely be able to hook you up. Great group of people back at head office.
A lot of really good people. So I'll be linking that in the chat for you guys to do that if you need it. I guess with that said, make sure you guys hit the like button right off the bat. Anyone joining us, hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. And make sure to share our channel, share our videos. That always helps us. It's one of the best ways to support us is to share it around and help our channel grow. Because the bigger we get, the more awesome stuff we can do, more better content we can bring to you. So make sure you share that. Get this guy's face everywhere. Make him famous. Make him YouTube famous. Ish. Do it. Yeah. It's our mission. All of us. We're going to make it happen. We just hit 60,000 subscribers, by the way. Yeah! I think we're at like 60,000 and like 10 or something. Awesome. 60 is awesome. It is our goal. I was hoping by now we'd be even higher, but there are certain things that, certain conditions we need to, I think, really put a concerted effort in 2019 to make that happen. Yep. But we're going to do it. We're committed. We've talked about our plan. We've
got an awesome project to help kind of launch us into that too.
Yeah, and obviously all of you guys, we do appreciate your subscriptions, and as much as you can share it, the better. All that said, enough of my jibber jabbering. I'm going to start eating donuts, and while I do that, I'm going to hit him with a couple of your questions. So let's find out what we have. Hello from Texas. Someone from in Mexico on their honeymoon watching us.
Wow.
Did you say honeymoon? On my honeymoon. I love that.
Wow.
What's the conversation like that? Sweetheart, my beloved, can you wait here for an hour? I have to go on the computer. I'll be right back. I love it.
That's awesome.
Good for you. Jay Cod, thank you.
And congratulations.
Congratulations. You guys are hilarious. Texas. Okay, let's see. First question, thoughts on pea puffers?
Pea puffers are super cute. I actually really like puffers in general. I think they're a really cool and interactive fish. Pea puffers being very, very tiny. Here's a thought on pea puffers. I remember, I don't know if it's still so much the case, but way back in the day when I first saw pea puffers and I had a conversation, I was a kid at the time, with the store clerk. They're like, oh yeah, they're easy, no problem. You can put them in, with whatever fish. They really didn't know a whole lot about pea puffers. And I felt like pea puffers were being kind of prescribed as a good fish for anybody, even beginners, right off the get-go without really understanding them. And I think they're actually not exactly a beginner fish. I think having a little bit of aquarium background first before getting into puffers in general is pretty good. And also, most puffers like to nip at things because they're predatory, like fins and other fish and other small animals. But I think pea puffers are awesome. In general, they're awesome. I think anybody who's looking at getting puffers and wants ones that are going to stay relatively small and, you know, could potentially be kept in a more community setting, I think they're pretty decent. And they're a lot of fun. They're cute.
Yeah?
They're cute. They're very cute. I will say, though, I'm a much larger fan of big puffers because they're like gigantic puppy dogs. Saltwater or freshwater.
Very interactive.
Maboo puffers.
Are they're pretty interactive with you?
Super,
generally?
yeah.
See, I would love a fish that's interactive, that feels like a pet in a relationship, not so much like, okay, swim, give me food, swim, you know, like something that like has that interaction with you. I think I'd enjoy that hugely.
Puffers are super interactive and they're quite intelligent, so they know.
Nice.
They'll like egg you on if you're not feeding them enough. Okay, bro.
Thomas, you punk.
Yeah.
Feeding time.
Hey, I've seen them like literally splash water out of the tank to get somebody's attention.
That's awesome.
They're really cool. Cowfish too. We had a cowfish that used to literally spit water out of the tank. Anyways, I digress. What's next?
Next is 5 gallons is good for freshwater shrimp.
Yeah. 5 gallons is a pretty good size for something like cherry shrimp or crystal red shrimp. You'd be pretty decent. I think the larger you go, maybe up to 15 or 20 gallons for a shrimp setup, it's probably a little bit easier just because of dilution. So you're dealing with a slightly larger volume of water. If you're dosing anything for plants, you know, usually keep them in planted tanks. You're less likely to overdose anything in a larger system. And even if you do, it's less impactful than it would have been in a 5-gallon system. So if like 5 to 20, it's 4 times diluted. So it'd be 4 times as concentrated in a 5-gallon. But that's the only real caution I have. Beyond that, yeah, they're pretty awesome little things to keep.
My angelfish has ick. It's the size of a $50. What treatment would you recommend?
Angelfish, ick, $50. I would first just like test everything. Check your water temperature, check pH, check your ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, notably. They're probably the culprits. But usually fish won't get ick unless something else is going on with them. So I kind of use ick as like an indicator that something in the tank is off or something with that particular fish is off, because ick won't usually take hold of a fish unless it's got a weakened immune system for whatever reason. It could be temperatures far too low for that species, whatever it is. So yeah, you want to figure out why your fish got ick. That's number one. Number two, there's a few different ways you can help treat ick. Obviously, there are straight up medications you can use for ick. I try to avoid those unless absolutely necessary. In freshwater, sometimes it's a little bit better just to medicate. But you can also raise the temperature to increase the life cycle, or how fast that ick's life cycle happens, which will help get the ick spots off the fish faster. The ick could potentially still be in the system, so it's pretty important that you also make sure that whatever is causing your fish to have a weakened immune system is fixed as well. Otherwise, your fish is going to just end up with ick all over again very quickly. So yeah, but ick medications, there are many out there. They're usually prescribed as ick medications right on the box or the whatever it is you're getting. So any ick medication is going to work relatively well. I think it's pretty important to consider that other fish in the tank will react differently to ick medications or any medications. So for instance, any medication that is caustic, which most ick medications are, it's going to burn the ick off of the fish essentially. Fish that have skin rather than scales are going to be affected by that medication a lot more. So things like loaches that have skin will be affected by ick medication more, and in a negative way. You can overdose them quite easily because of that. So you got to be careful who's in there. I highly recommend quarantine tanks if you don't have one already. That was a long answer, but
a good answer.
And yeah, if you want some more guidance on that, just hit up our support team, give them all the information. They can help decipher the situation for you as well.
Yep, support at bigowlspets.com. I linked that in the chat, so definitely copy paste that into your email, and you can get in touch with them. Next up, watching SpaceX launch and you guys. That's
nice.
Awesome. We're in good company. That's
Yay!
great. I love that. Awesome.
I'll take it.
Yep. Yeah, I want to try and find that video we did where we launched you into space.
Launched me?
Yeah, it was for some promo for like some Star Wars clothing for pets, for dogs and stuff. And we did this ridiculously silly video where the whole office came together and launched him into space. I was really proud of it. It didn't end up making it out for whatever reason, but I found it a couple...
We should be able to just put it up.
I found it like a month ago. I think at the very least we could play it during a Q&A as like part of the Q&A. I'll try and find it for next week, and we can show Thomas getting launched into space. Oh, it was great. One of my favorites. Okay, next up. I think that my Rasboras got fin rot. Today I did 50% water change. Tomorrow I'm getting medicine for them. Can I put it in my community tank? It's just the Rasboras that have it so far, like yet. That's from Madeline Anderson, who joins us every single week. Thanks, Madeline.
Yeah. Okay, so fin rot, meh. If you're, it depends what you're putting in with them, or treating, what you're treating with. Got to get my brain sorted out here. If you're using something like Melifix or Pimafix, treating the whole tank's not going to harm anything. They're relatively, it's almost like half a medication. It's not a true medication. It's kind of a good step you can take before actually using medication. So if you're going to use something like that, definitely go ahead. You can treat the whole tank. It's not going to hurt anything. If you're going to use a medication to treat, just double check, just kind of like I was talking about with the ick, just double check that the dose that you're going to use for your Rasboras of that particular medication, and it should be on the package of the medication or in the instructions, isn't going to affect the other fish in a different way. So fish that have scales versus fish that have skin. Some fish are just more sensitive to certain types of medications than others. So as long as you don't have any other fish in the tank that are going to be affected differently or impacted harder with that dose of medication, you should be okay. And I'm really sorry that your fish have fin rot, and hopefully it clears up pretty quick. 50%, and like one thing, and I'm glad you actually said that you did a 50% water change. One thing I used to recommend all the time, and I should say it more often, really, anytime something wacky's going on with the tank, your fish are not behaving right, somebody's clearly ill, one of the best things you can do right off the get-go is just do a water change. You're going to test the water anyways. Test the water, take your sample out so you can test it or whatever, but do a water change. It doesn't have to be a huge water change, but just do one, because that will often help ease the situation while you try to continue to figure out what's going on. It's kind of like just like step number one, do a water change, test the water, see where you're at, and then move forward. So good job. I think that was an awesome idea to do that 50% water change and then to proceed further. So
cool. Benjamin says, you guys owe me donuts. I was just about to get lunch when you went live, so now I'm hungry.
Sorry.
Dude, these donuts are banging, man. These are awesome donuts. Them? Those are so good.
Yeah, we were when we had them this morning with coffee and stuff. Oh, dude.
I thought I'm only going to eat one while we're doing this, but then I tasted that one and I'm really excited.
Was it the jelly-filled one you had?
Yeah, it had a little bit of jelly like in one edge of it. It wasn't like full.
Yeah, we didn't pump them.
I got through and went, oh, there was no, but then at the very last bite, it was like the best for last. Yeah, dude.
We're still perfecting everything, but...
Oh, dude, you're doing great.
We're working on it.
Yeah, you're doing great.
It's mostly Eva. I'm not going to lie.
Eva, keep it up. That was amazing. Okay, next up, I would like to set up a shrimp tank. Any suggestions where to begin? Any suggestion is appreciated.
To set up a shrimp tank?
Yeah.
I think, and this is going to sound funny, I think one of the best places to start is figure out, roughly what size aquarium you want to go with, where you're going to put the tank, and what your aspirations at the end of the day are going to be for that aquarium. So are you just in the market for getting some shrimp and you don't really care what the tank's going to look like otherwise? You just really want to try your hand at breeding shrimp maybe? So you're just going to throw a bunch of Java moss in there and it's going to float around or whatever? Or do you want to do like a full little low-tech planet tank or high-tech planet tank even, and then have the main feature of that tank besides the aquascape, like the main actual critter, just be the shrimp? Because that's really going to change how you approach the whole thing. So if I was going to pick one of the two, I would say a nice low-tech aquascape, like low-tech planet tank with a nice little aquascape, mostly plants, really easy stuff, Java moss, Java fern. that's a great place to start for shrimp because it's going to be a nice low maintenance system. You can really focus your attention on the shrimp care rather than trying to, make sure your entire aquarium is constantly perfectly balanced, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And that's where I would start. And I honestly think somewhere between, for a shrimp tank, somewhere between 15 and 20 gallons is a great, comfortable tank size. Lots of options there.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my thoughts on where to start.
Sweet. I have a freshwater temperate tank, fake plants, and 6 small mountain minnow. Getting brown algae. How do I treat this?
Test your water, number 1. See where you're at for nitrates, and if you have a phosphate test kit, you can try that as well. Brown algae, like that spotting, is either going to be diatom algae or the other one that I'm going to forget now, just because. And it was funny. Last time I forgot diatom.
Right.
And I was saying it could be, I'll remember it later. I can only remember like one brown algae at a time. What I would do is just check to make sure that you're keeping up on maintenance. So what can sometimes happen is water can look pretty pristine. Like it can look visually super clear, but still have elevated nutrient levels. So things like nitrates or phosphates or silicates or something like that. And that can fuel algae. The other thing you can do is make sure that your tank isn't getting too much light. And what I mean by that is either, possibly getting light from a window or another source that's just supercharging any algae growth that's in the tank. And also making sure that you're not leaving the light on too long. So realistically, unless you have real plants, which you said you have fake plants, you don't need to have the light on really at all. Ambient room light is enough for the fish to know it's daytime and it's time to be awake and move around. So any light you have on top of that is really for the benefit of viewing the tank. So if you're not home most of the day, but you're home for like 4 hours in the evening, 6 hours in the evening before you go to sleep, that would be a heck of a day.
Yeah.
I'm gone, and then I'm home for 4 hours and go to sleep. But then just have the tank on for the hours that you're home to really enjoy it, and then ambient room light's going to be enough for the fish beyond that. And that'll also help to reduce algae because algae does require to have some light in order to really photosynthesize and prosper. So if you remove that from the equation, if you remove nutrient from the equation, you generally remove algae from the equation. That could have been an algae episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
well. Next up, I think we have an algae episode still with coming. We just need some B-roll of more algae, and then we can actually put that algae episode out, and then we can kind of link people to that.
I have some algae for you to take pictures of.
Fantastic, because we get a lot of questions about algae. Yeah. Like every single week, there's questions about different types of algae. So once we can get that out,
and it's like the bane of the aquarium owner's existence.
Yeah, it's like that one pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's
thorn in the side.
Exactly, it's like Batman and Joker. Batman's the aquarium, algae's the Joker. I guess.
I like that. Which Joker? Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson? I don't know.
All of them rolled into one. Gosh.
Next up. Hi, guys. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, I see we have Josh in the chat now, who's our other video host and Aquatics Enthusiast. He's answering questions, so anything we can't get to, hopefully he's able to help you guys out. And again, if Thomas forgets something or he's searching through his files in his head and can't think,
Josh will usually back me up.
Yeah, Josh will back us up. So, hey, Josh, good to have you here, man. Hi, guys. Would you know the red Arowana lifespan, please?
Oh, man. Okay, so last I remember, it's been a while since I actually looked at their lifespan. Somewhere between 15 and 25 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure. It's really long. It's not short. It's very, very long. Them and koi, holy.
How long did koi live for?
I think the longest recorded one was like almost 100 years or something ridiculous. It's either that or 50. I know that's a large jump.
It's either that or half that.
No, I just remember reading. See, the thing is, a lot of it's like anecdotal. Yeah. So it's, this guy says he's had this koi for 100 years.
There's no like scientific proof that this koi
not yet. Not that I can think of. I think probably the longest one that's confirmed in captivity in like a professional aquarium or something like that, or a public aquarium, is probably somewhere between 25 and 50 years, and I can't nail it down.
Right.
These are like really interesting facts that I could know, but just don't.
We'll start making like a list of
this is why generalized information
is
my key thing.
Do some research of like some of the cool things. Maybe we'll do like a trivia episode or something where you can
That
be
would
like,
be
these
really
are like
cool.
really awesome facts that I read from reputable sources.
That's the key thing.
That's the key, reputable. And as we know, the internet isn't really known for reputable sources a lot of the time. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I read on The Onion this coin lived to be 1,000.
I was in line at the grocery store.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay.
All right. I'm setting. Oh, this is from the gentleman in Mexico on his honeymoon. Hopefully he's still with us. If not, hopefully he's out having fun on his honeymoon.
Yeah.
He said he's poolside, by the way, which I think is
That
awesome.
is awesome.
Yeah. He says, I'm setting up a dedicated shrimp nano tank with Neos. Do I need supplements in substrate? Is gravel and sand okay?
Gravel and sand should be fine depending on what plants you're keeping. So if you want to keep it super simple and you're doing things like I had mentioned before, like Java moss, Java fern, and Nubius, you don't really need to worry about it too much. They're going to do just fine even in a tank that has plain substrate, plain sand. Besides the fact that if you ever find that you're not getting enough out of the plants or they're not really doing as well as you'd like, you can always take some root tabs and just shove them into the substrate, and then you're gold. So I wouldn't worry too much about it unless you're going to go with some harder to keep plants. I think you'll be just fine.
Sweet. Can I use grow bulbs in my Planet Aquarium?
Technically, you can. This is what I'll say about just generic grow bulbs versus aquarium bulbs. Typically, an aquarium company or any company that's designing product for aquarium are going to basically take into account the relationship between light and water, because water affects light a lot more than most people consider. There's a reason that the ocean is so darn dark at the bottom, and also why things down there are red. And that's because water filters out red light very quickly. It doesn't take a lot of depth before red light really just starts disappearing. And that's why things at the bottom of the ocean are red, because that's the color of light that won't get down there, so they are essentially invisible down there because of it. So yeah, so you want to make sure that whatever light you're getting, whatever kind of bulbs you're getting are going to, you know, this is a situation you don't want to be in. You don't want to purchase a 30-watt LED bulb, let's say, or fluorescent compact bulb or whatever it is. And the efficiency of that bulb drop dramatically because that bulb's spectrum doesn't take into account what light's actually going to make it to the bottom of the tank. Versus an aquarium bulb that could probably be a lower wattage and a spectrum that's tuned differently for plants, the ones that are going to be living aquatically, and hopefully have better penetration, or at least not waste too much energy on providing wavelengths that aren't going to make it to the bottom of the tank anyway, and focus more on wavelengths that will. So it's honestly, the short answer is it's fine. You definitely can. The long answer is you'll have most likely better results with the proper aquarium bulb. Aquarium bulbs will usually be higher in the blue end of the spectrum, and grow bulbs aren't always. That's really it. Man, that was a long way to say that.
But you said it.
Ha-ha!
What kind of tank mates would you recommend for Swordtails 20-gallon?
Swordtails? All kinds of stuff. I think Swordtails could go well with a whole bunch of different types of small tetras, rasboras. You could do cherry barbs, white cloud minnows, danios. Small pleco species would be fun. If you have, you know, the appropriate substrate, there's all kinds of cory catfish that would do quite well. The thing is, it really comes down to personal preference. So it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
But no, obviously other Livebearers, platies, guppies, endlers, all good. You could do dwarf neon rainbows. All kinds of stuff.
And then, you know, from that list, choose what ones you like
sky's
the best.
the limit.
Yeah. Thomas, can I use ectozone salt in my planted tank, or will it kill the plants?
I have no idea what ectozone salt is. Google it for me, Brian.
Sure. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Ectozone.
It sounds like something from Ghostbusters.
It sounds like, yeah. Ectozone.
We're all out of ectozone.
Hobby ectozone. Aquarist. Okay, let's see here.
Maybe it's just a brand.
Is a medicine for
Oh, definitely not.
For the prevention and treatment of mycoses? I don't know.
I have no idea. Long story short, if it is a true salt, like a sodium If it's salt, you can't. Salt kills plants pretty quick. So don't use it. I was thinking maybe it was something like a magnesium salt or like something different.
Right.
Sometimes things are called salts and they're not actually just salt. But anyways, yeah. Avoid putting salt in planted tanks. Plants and salt do not get along. In fact, I use salt to kill the weeds in my driveway. Because it's safer than using pesticides.
Yeah. Yeah, I never get my lawn done or anything like that. Because I got 2 kids who love to just crawl through the grass. So I never like...
Not worth it.
No, not for me.
No.
I've got a medium light planted tank with a DIY CO2 setup. My plants are visibly bubbling. What does this mean? Thanks.
Haha! That's a good thing. So plants will pearl or have bubbles come out of their leaves as they're photosynthesizing, because as they photosynthesize, they uptake CO2 and remove the carbon and have to give off oxygen. So those bubbles are oxygen that the plants are releasing into the water column. Pearling is awesome. It's a good thing to look for. It's a lot of fun when you see it, and it makes you happy because you know your plants are photosynthesizing and doing well.
So sweet.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I'm happy for you. What plants can you put in sand substrate and 40 par?
40 par is like right in the perfect bracket for most low-tech plants. So we have a list of low-tech plants on our low-tech planted build episode on plants, which Brian's going to link for us right now.
You betcha.
But there's a lot. So some of the ones that I'll just list off. So Ludwigia repens, I believe, which is a red Ludwigia, will do just fine. It won't stay as red, but it'll do okay. You can also do vals are not picky. The ones I've already listed. So Java moss, Java fern, Anubias. What else? Guppy grass, Bacopa. There's all kinds. But anyways, Brian's going to send that link in there for you.
Already done.
Yes. So I have a pretty good list there for you. You can go through.
Sweet. What are larger or centerpiece fish for a 20-gallon? Is this more of an opinion one still, or are there some really good?
You know, it depends. I love that people are really fixated, and this is something that I've noticed more lately than back in the day. People are really fixated on centerpiece fish. Mm-hmm. Like, this is going to be the fish of the tank, and then all the other fish are just secondary. All the fish are centerpiece fish. You care about them all the same. They're all beautiful. They're all trying to work together to make your entire... But I know what you're saying. Like, you're looking for something to stand out amongst the rest. For a 20-gallon, I think dwarf gouramis are on the big end. Like, you might not... You probably could get away with a dwarf gourami. I am a big fan of crebensis cichlids. They are mean as heck if they start breeding, but if you have a single crebensis, that could do it. They hide a little bit. I also like using blue rams or German rams as centerpiece fish. Also in smaller tanks, I actually had some in my 20-gallon. Dwarf neon rainbows are excellent, and the thing I like about them is you can keep a small group of them, and they'll still be centerpiece fish. But you get a small group of like 3 to 5, and the males, when they spar with each other, are incredible. They have a flat portion at the top of their head that will randomly or very rapidly flash different colors, usually from dark browns to like bright yellows, when they're sparring with each other.
That's wild.
It's a way they communicate and show off to each other, and it's super cool to watch.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
Super cool.
Those are going to be my yep.
I get my clownfish. How can I get my clownfish to host my black widow?
What?
Host my
black widow? What?
What do you mean by host? Like lay out a cheese plate and like entertain? Like,
yes.
Yes. Like,
well, first off, your black widow needs a scuba gear. I don't know exactly what the black widow is, but black widow. Look up black widow.
Hold on, let me see if they've mentioned anything here.
Coral? Is it another clownfish? Look up black widow clownfish. I don't know. We're going off
trying
off the beam path here.
Pair black widow.
Anemone,
Percula
black widow,
ocellaris.
Percula ocellaris? I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. You can't really make clownfish host anything. They kind of have to decide on their own, and they generally over time will figure something out. Often by accident. It can take months. It could take a week. It could take a day. I've had clownfish that have like 4 or 5 hosting anemones around them, and they had no idea what to do, and it literally took 3 or 4 weeks for them to figure out that they could host them. So
this says black widow. This is from a forum. It says black widow turned brown, so I'm assuming that's a black widow.
okay, so it's a bubble tip anemone. Well, that's good news. So I'm on the right track. So you can't force them. And in fact,
Josh, of course, is always in the comments backing up.
Bubble
It's a
tip.
bubble tip.
Thanks, Josh. So this is why I hate, not hate, but I really don't like general terms or like given names to things.
Yeah, because it's always
It just
different
muddies the
everywhere.
waters. Yeah. So yeah, you can't force them. You don't want to try to push them into it because they can actually get injured doing that. If they're not naturally hosting the anemone and you throw them into it, they can actually get stung, and it's not good for them. So, and it'll stress them out. So just let it happen eventually, naturally. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but it's not something you can really force. And things can go sideways if you try to. So patience is really key.
Cool. Next up, now this is a bit of an oddball question.
love this.
It's an oddball. Can fish fart? My betta made bubbles from, well, not his mouth. He's healthy, eating and swimming around. He's not bloated or anything. Can fish fart?
I'm going to go with yes. I'm sure,
I mean, they have the same, like they have a digestive system.
I've not seen an animal yet that can't fart.
Actually, my brother worked on, he does videos.
Your brother can't fart?
No, well, he just learned how.
I'm just assuming.
No, he learned how. And then he got a job where he does videos as well. He worked on some TV show they made. It's like for YTV or something called Does It Fart? And it's this whole TV show about animals and whether or not they fart. It's just, I think it just recently went on air. I'm going to Google it after this and try and find it. Pretty interesting.
I'm not sure if fish can fart, but anything's possible. I think it's also entirely possible that they can... Maybe it's possible that they can regulate the amount of gas in their swim bladder. Although I would assume that would come out of their mouth. I don't know why I would assume that. Anyways, I'm going to have to look up. That's one of the funniest questions I've been asked so far. And I'm going to have to now look up whether or not fish can fart.
Yeah.
That is not something I've ever thought about. Surprising.
It's good to know.
Surprising.
Yeah, good answer to know. Hello all. If you treat a tank with Malefics, will it kill some bio?
Malefics? No, it shouldn't kill any bio. It really shouldn't. Not unless you overdose the living heck out of it.
Cool.
No, it's very gentle stuff. Like it is pre-medication medication. It's like the thing I do before I actually get into a serious medication. So,
just bought a second tank that I am dedicating to neon tetras.
Nice.
Do you have any advice?
Stability. Neon tetras love stability. So make sure you nail those parameters down. You keep those nitrates nice and low. Adding plants, live plants to the system will really help. They don't have to be anything fancy, but they really do appreciate the seclusion, and you may actually get them to breed if they have enough comfort and stability. Stability is really key. Neons and cardinals and other small tetras, rummy nose and stuff, I won't say that they're hard fish to keep, but they are harder than a lot of other fish you could keep. Like Livebearers and barbs and stuff like that. Neons, rummy nose, and they're just, and cardinals and stuff like that, they're just a little bit more delicate, so they really benefit from that, just a little bit of extra attention to those kinds of details.
Cool. I am cycling my saltwater tank. The ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate already went up, and they were all going down. Now the nitrite and nitrate are going again, not ammonia. Is this weird?
Nope. So basically what's going to happen, if you think of it this way, ammonia is going to be the first thing that goes up, and the bacteria in your system that you're trying to colonize and have them do their thing are going to break the ammonia down, and you're going to have resulting nitrite and then furthermore nitrate. So it would make sense that your ammonia climbs first, followed by nitrate, 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 and then as ammonia drops, you have to consider that all that ammonia is still getting converted into nitrate and nitrite. So as it drops, those are still going to go up. because the ammonia is being consumed and turned into nitrate over time. So the goal is once ammonia is 0, your nitrite should also be 0, and your nitrates will be sitting at a given value depending on how much ammonia was converted over that time frame. So it is perfectly normal. Just keep an eye on those parameters, and you're probably not too far away from having the tank cycled.
Cool. We'll give you a bit of a break because it's time for my favorite segment.
I'm stealing it!
All right, now Thomas has gotten into my donuts.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it.
You made them, so I can't get too upset with you, but...
Here I was talking about making sure your family had donuts.
I was going to give that one to my 3-year-old. He was so excited for it.
He doesn't know about it.
But he would have been so excited for it. And now I have to tell him Thomas ate it. Sorry.
Or you could not,
no.
And he would never know the difference.
I'm honest with my children about their donuts, okay? I don't lie to them. I don't tell them donut lies. God, what a monster are you?
Just do your segment.
My segment. All right. So, what did I learn this week? It's actually closer to what I learned this morning, but I did learn it. I thought it was kind of neat. Fish. I've done a few like this. Fish are, as always, very helpful to us in learning new things. So they're helping us to cure cancer. Dolphins helping us potentially contact aliens. And I learned this morning that fish are actually helping us in the development of robotics to build better robots. So I'll start by saying, why do fish constantly move around?
Why do they constantly move
Yeah,
around?
what's the further thing comes to you? Why do they constantly move around? Why are they always swimming around?
Food?
No. Well, I mean, probably like consciously, sure, like they're hungry and okay, gonna eat. But apparently they always move around because that is their way of sensing the environment.
Oh, that makes sense. Lateral line and all that.
Sensing everything. So I read this really cool thing from Johns Hopkins University where they've been studying fish and how they sense their environment. And they do tests with them. So they will, it's like lightly electric fish, they said, that like give off some kind of like electric...
Okay, probably like knife fish or something.
Sure.
Baby whales.
You know what? I have a clip. I'll play that while I talk since they're probably...
Knife fish. Hey,
there we go. So you were right. Okay, so this is a video from Johns Hopkins. So what they did is they kept the fish in like this tube, essentially, this controlled tube. And I think that's the sort of the electric current or something coming off of them. I'm not really sure what the deal is there.
What, the undulating?
Yes.
That's
it's a fin?
Yeah, that's their bottom fin.
Okay, well, either way, what they're doing is they have these guys set up in a very controlled environment, like simulating an environment for them. And what happens is when they have them in this tube, the fish will move a certain way. And if they regulate the tube and the movement of the water to synchronize with the fish, it actually kind of freaks the fish out because suddenly the environment around them, it's really synced up to their movement, so they can't sense things the right way. It's hard to explain, but
it's like turning off. They're matching the fish's sensory, like, so the fish is sensing things in a certain way, their movements. They match that so that they're running parallel and they're copied, and then the fish feels like nothing's happening anymore.
Like imagine you're walking down the sidewalk and like part of it starts moving like a treadmill under your feet, and you're like, oh, and it freaks you out because you're supposed to just be walking. It's kind of like
walking the opposite way at the airport.
Down that conveyor.
So you're not moving, but you're moving.
Exactly it. So what they would do is they would have the fish in this tube, and they would synchronize it with the fish, and it would freak out, and then they'd move the tube, and the fish would kind of be like, oh, okay. Like the fish would start to swim really fast when the tube was sunk up with its movements, because that's the way it would sense its environment, is to start swimming and getting some feedback from the environment again.
Right.
And we do a lot of, like, it's called active sensing. We do a lot of that. Like if you're in a dark room and you're like searching for the light, that's called like active sensing. You can't see it, but you're like, where is that switch? But or when we're trying to weigh something, you know, someone gives you something, says, how much does this weigh? And you kind of bounce it in your hand. Yeah. No one just hands it to you, just hold it, and you're like, 7 pounds. You kind of move your hand up and down. It's the same kind of principle. So anyway, I guess what they're doing at Johns Hopkins is they're trying to study this sensory information and trying to put it in their robotics to create robotics that are much more aligned with their environment. Now, apparently, the researchers say most robotics, they don't do that. They don't add a lot of sensors for the environment, which the guy goes, it's kind of weird we don't do that. But they're trying to add more sensors onto these robots so they can adapt to everything around them much more efficiently and be much more efficient robots in general, which I think is scary and cool because, again, you think about all the dire possibilities there. But anyway, so they're using fish and their sensory abilities to do that. So I thought that was kind of neat.
You know what I think is kind of neat?
What?
I can think of one robot that already senses its environment.
What's that?
Roomba.
Oh, I've always wanted a Roomba. Might have learned that from fish. They might have got that from fish.
You know what I saw the other day?
What?
Right on this topic, kind of. There was, controversially, but there was students that had made a device. It was like a car with a tank on top, like a small robotic car with a tank on top with a camera overlooking the top of the tank that tracked the fish's movement. And depending on where the fish was swimming, the car would drive that way. So it was like, yeah. So it was like a reverse submarine for fish.
Amazing.
So it's like, I'm just going to walk around this gym. It was awesome.
Oh, man. I got to find the video of that. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, so that's my fact of the week.
Loved it.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Me too.
Solid.
That was pretty neat. But we'll get back to questions now. Saltwater tips for keeping frog spawn, zoas, and a pair of clownfish.
Okay, so the good news is, pair of clownfish, very easy. We actually have a short, I think it's like a 4-part, maybe 5-part series on setting up a simple saltwater aquarium. And we use clownfish because they are one of the easiest fish to care for in the marine world, along with damsels and some other things. So the good news is they're very simple fish to keep. Really, the only difference is you need to learn how to measure salt content in water for when you're doing water changes and stuff like that. But beyond that, it's the same deal as most other hardy fish. Zoanthids are pretty easy going as far as corals go. They're super, super collectible. There's a bajillion different patterns out there, different colors and stuff like that. They don't have a huge demand for calcium or carbonate because they are a soft coral, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. If you have a good reef salt that's designed for keeping corals alive, that'll be enough to keep those zoanthids happy and going. The only thing you have to worry about is having a nice nutritious light source for them, and there are so many options out there for reef lights, it's nuts. But if you want a really easy kind of can't screw it up one, high output T5s are very simple to work with. There are also various LED fixtures that are essentially static, so not a lot of options with how to tune them, but just very straightforward and easy. I think Aquatic Life makes the Edge fixture in a marine version now, which would do a pretty good job. The current USA fixtures as well. Anyways, that's your main concern with zoanthids. With frog spawns, same idea. Most euphyllias, whether they're branching frog spawns or hammer corals or torch corals, not super hard to take care of. Most, decent reef lights are going to do a pretty good job at keeping them happy in terms of lighting. The only thing you have to learn to do on top of that is test for calcium and alkalinity, so carbonate hardness, so that you can continue to keep your calcium and alkalinity levels within the preferred range for those corals, because they need to be able to build that calcium carbonate skeleton to continue to thrive. And if they don't have enough, they may not grow, but the problem is they can also start receding if they don't have enough. So the only thing you need to figure out on top of the very, very basics is just calcium and alkalinity, and you should be good. They do actually like quite a bit of flow as well, but they like flow a little bit differently than SPS corals, less turbulent and more gentle oscillating flow or back and forth type flow. So.
Benjamin P says RoboFish is greater than RoboCop. And I agree wholeheartedly. RoboFish is greater than RoboCop.
I would love to see RoboFish save the day.
Yes. We should make a short film.
We probably could.
Yeah, okay.
We have the technology.
Done deal, Benjamin P. Story by Benjamin P. All right, cool. What do you think about the Abba knife fish? Would you like to own one of them?
Abba, look that up for me real quick.
Abba knife fish.
I've had knife fish, various knife fish. Oh, wow. They look... They look mean and massive. Look at the size of that person's hand.
Yeah.
I think that's an...
That's gigantic.
That's right up my alley. I especially when I got into aquarium keeping in my late teens and early 20s. Well, I got into it way before that, but when I was really exploring it, and especially in the freshwater department, I was obsessed with like crazy, cool, big oddball fish, and that would have been awesome. It looks like a lot of fun.
Gigantic.
It looks like it might be an electric species, not like an electric eel, but an electric sensing type knife fish.
Right.
I would say nowadays I'd probably not keep a fish like that simply because of the space required. If I was gonna set up a really big tank and keep some arowana or something, that's one thing. I don't know if that fish would be compatible, but yeah, that thing is really cool. That I don't know if you've seen. I think they're called gulper catfish or megamouth catfish.
Let me look this up.
Anyways, it's a catfish that can eat fish like bigger than they are, and their stomach just expands, and they look ridiculous. They have tiny eyes, and they look like they have literally no brain. They're just a mouth with fins, and then look
at that.
See how distended it is?
Look at this.
Yeah. Yep, just another fish the same size as it.
That's amazing. You guys should Google that. Look at the images.
But yeah, things like that and ripsaw catfish and giraffe cats, and I love big fish like that. Even clown knives or emperor clown knives, like I like fish like that. They're just so cool and prehistoric looking to me. Lungfish. Okay, anyway, let's keep going.
How often should I feed baby fish?
It really depends on the species, but I think in general, baby fish should have small amounts of food very often, so that they can constantly stay essentially full without the risk of polluting their water very quickly, because especially if they're in their own system, if you put too much in at once, they may not get it all at once, and anything left on the bottom is going to be hard to vacuum out, especially if the fry are tiny. So the last thing you want to do is put them in a situation where the water's going to foul. So small amounts more often for many species works really, really well.
Hopefully you know what this is. If you had to use a
Biorb
aquarium, how would you improve the filtration? Would you even keep the stock air-driven filtration that so many people appear to have problems with?
I would probably, if I had a Biorb, I would probably try to rig up an internal filter in there. I don't know what's going to fit properly, and I can't remember for the life of me if it's like a proprietary chamber with a bunch of stuff in it, and you'd have to... Long story short, I would probably just take like an off-the-shelf, well-known, like maybe a Fluval or an Eheim or something to that effect, internal filter, and just drop that in. It might muddy up the aquascape a little bit. You'd have to find ways to cleverly hide it, and you'd have the cord obviously coming out the top. But that's going to be a much better option than the stock air-driven filtration. You'll just have better results, and you could probably stock a little bit more heavily with a better filtration system. Ultimately, you can make the filter that comes in there work. You just really got to cut down on the amount of fish that are going in.
Okay, Ben Foltz wants to know, he said he's new to the hobby, he's got a 20-gallon, he wanted stocking ideas, but of course, we always say that's up to your own personal taste. We don't really want to necessarily always be giving stocking ideas, but he does say, I love celestial pearl danios, but I can't seem to find them anywhere. Are there similar colorful and awesome fish that I can find?
I think the short answer is yes, there is. There are lots of different and very small tetra species or rasboras even. There are some very, very small rasbora species. Some of them can be harder to find, but I think one of my favorite, just off the top of my head, tetra species is black neon tetras. I think they're, the funny thing is, it just sounds like I'm talking about a black fish, but I think the thing about black neons that I like the most is that they have the same nice clean striping that you see in a neon tetra. But the black neons have a black bar. They have like a kind of iridescent green or yellow bar that follows it, and I believe they have a like a iridescent orange that sits over their eye. And man, we got to find a way to just be able to like throw images up while I'm talking.
Yeah, it'll take a bit, but
one day. But look it up. Black neon tetras, they don't get huge, but they are so cool. And when you have a small school of them, they have a lot of kind of oomph, especially because of those small highlights in their eye and the nice iridescence down their body. You see this like group of fish swimming around that are mostly dark, and they just have these bright colors that pop on their body, and it is really hypnotic to watch.
Wow, super cool.
That's my opinion. Haha.
Hey guys, what's the minimum tank size for a pair of clownfish and some hermit crabs? I'm trying to get in the saltwater hobby and trying to get a good starting saltwater setup.
Realistically, the minimum size I would recommend for small species of clownfish like Ocellaris or Percula or skunk clownfish would be 20 gallons. That's the smallest I personally am comfortable with putting clownfish in, knowing that they're going to live their whole lives there into adulthood. I think you'd be very well off with anything between 20 and 40 gallons.
Cool. I have a terracotta pot I'd like to put in my tank, but as it's not an actual aquarium decoration, how should I wash it before putting it in?
Terracotta. As long as it hasn't been used with anything before, I think the best you can really do is to give it a good scrub in lukewarm tap water and just hope for the best. I don't know if all terracotta is made without the use of chemicals that are capable of leaching. For the most part, I think terracotta is pretty safe, but it all depends. If it's like a glazed terracotta or they've put something in or on it that could leach, that could be an issue. If it's straight terracotta, you should be just fine.
Awesome. Oh, how many red honey gouramis would you put in an 18-gallon? Also, would that be too small for a red-tailed shark?
Yes, 18 gallons is too small for a red-tailed shark, and red-tailed sharks are mean. Mean, mean, mean. Rainbow sharks are also mean, mean, mean. Mean, mean, mean. Mean, mean. Honey gouramis in an 18-gallon, I think you could probably get away with maybe a pair or a trio at most. Make sure you have some good filtration on there just to keep the water nice and pristine without you having to do too much work.
Cool. What canister filter would you recommend for a 30-gallon hex shrimp tank?
An Eheim 2215
Classic?
Classic canister.
Shocker!
Shocker.
I can't believe Thomas recommended an Eheim Classic filter.
You could also do, if it's just shrimp, you're not going to put any fish or anything in there with them, you could do a 2213 pretty easily. And the nice thing is you can easily slip on one of the Eheim filter intake guards or covers. They actually have a pre-filter that slips on as well, which I've used. It's got like a plastic housing and then a pair of foam pads that go inside of it, and that works actually extremely well for keeping delicate little things out of your filter so that you can go ahead and make sure that they breed on and enjoy themselves inside of your aquarium.
All right, let's see here. Hey guys, new to the channel, new subscribers. When is the next submission video? I send you a couple of pics of my very first tank to see what you think. Okay, the next React video. Well, we pretty much launched through our first edition. Like we sat down one afternoon, and just went through a ton, and that ended up being like 5 volumes, I think.
Yeah,
and now
I think I gotta get less windy with it.
Well, you know what? No, I think it's good. It's just that I think we had 27. I think 27 submissions that day, and we went through 6 volumes. Like in each video is like 15 to 20 minutes long, sometimes more. And now we have about 200 submissions to go through. So we got to just sit down and take the time. And we're trying to toy with ideas of how we can do it in a live setting like this as well, just to kind of make it a little more efficient and get your tank seen. Because if we do it the way we did the last volumes, it'll take forever to film and then edit and then get them out there. So hopefully soon, we're going to film one. Hopefully in the next week or two we can sit down and film like a whole ton of them, but we are toying with a way to do it in a live setting. If you'd like that, let us know in the chats. Just say yes, that would be awesome or something, and we can kind of try and gauge our decision based on that. But they are coming soon. We've gotten all your submissions. It's just taking a bit of time to sit down and actually film those. I have a 75-gallon heavy planted tank. However, my Livebearers will not mate. There's no question there. You're just letting us know that. And do you have any potential reasons or tips or anything?
I've never really heard of Livebearers that refuse to mate. That's kind of like the one thing they're really good at. Do you have like all males or all females or something?
Is that, would it be like a sign that something maybe isn't right in the aquarium, perhaps? Like,
potentially, but I mean, yeah, I shouldn't. I assume too much sometimes. Just check your water parameters. If everything looks good and there's no reason they shouldn't be enjoying the frivolities of procreation. There's ways you can try to make them more comfortable. The other thing is they have to be sexually mature, And if they're not yet, if you got them all very young or as fry, it could take time for them to sexually mature. It usually doesn't take too long, but it is possible. The other very real possibility is that you have a 75-gallon tank that's heavily planted and you don't see the babies because they are hiding. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is jealous fish are eating babies that aren't theirs. But I'm assuming you don't even ever see your females look swole with eggs or bambinos. The eggs turn into the bambinos in the inside, and then they all come out through the all-purpose orifice.
That's just a fun one to say.
I like bambinos.
Bambinos.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's odd, but there's things to look for. So make sure, A, that you have a good ratio of males to females, that they're all sexually mature, that they're not hiding amongst the plants in other parts of the tank, and yeah, that your parameters and temperature and everything are right where they should be for the species you're keeping. Cool.
What's happening? Oh, okay. This one is another one to send to our support team for sure with pictures and context. But we'll flip it over to Thomas here and see what he could advise you on. What's happening to my Java fern? It's not rooted in my gravel, but brown patches are spreading and lots of dying Java fern. Only Java fern is affected.
Java fern is a rhizome type plant, so it's really important. And this is just a guess because this can happen if you do this. You do not plant the actual base of the plant where the leaves attach under gravel because it can rot. And if it rots, this is exactly what will happen. You'll start losing leaves. It'll start going brown all over. And that's quite possibly what's happening. So with a Java fern, the only part that should go under the gravel is just the roots if you're going to put it there. You can actually just tie Java fern, take the actual base of the plant, and just tie it to a rock with fishing line or thread, or whatever you'd like. You can even glue it to a piece of driftwood using like Seachem Flora glue and just stick it there because they don't actually need to root. They just need to be on something. Their root system acts more as an anchor for them than it does, you know, as a typical root system for nutrient transport. So if you accidentally planted them too deep, it can definitely cause these kinds of symptoms. But yes, send all the information you can to our support team and they can look into it further for you.
Yep, support at BigOwlsPets.com. Next up, is it recommended to put an angelfish in a 20 or is that too small?
In my opinion, it's too small. An adult angel will not live in a 20-gallon very comfortably. They can get very large, especially depending on the species of angel you're keeping. So my general minimum for angel, my preferred minimum for angels is somewhere around 55 gallons. You'll probably get away with a 40 depending on dimensions, but I think 55 gallons is a good, comfortable size for adult angels, so when they're finished growing. But I know it's tough because you see them at the store and they're really small and you're like, oh, that's awesome. But a lot of the fish at the stores, unfortunately, you're seeing babies and they're going to get a lot bigger. Like there are fish that you will see at 2 inches that can get 2 feet. That's a big fish.
Yeah.
So,
is it possible to keep a cycle going with 6 to 10 RCS? I'm waiting on an embellis pair and they won't arrive for another 3 weeks.
Yes, just add food to the aquarium, like fish food. So if the, I'm assuming that's red cherry shrimp, their bioload is very small and they're going to graze on a lot of algae and stuff. But if you add fish food to the tank, that will continue to feed the bacteria because that fish food is going to break down. It's going to become ammonia, and the bacteria will convert that ammonia as if it were being made by the fish, and it'll turn it into nitrate. So it'll just keep the process going. Just keep adding a little bit of food, and then you should be okay until your embellis pair arrive.
I bought a used fish tank that had freshwater fish. I think before, it doesn't anymore. It had them in there. Is there a special cleaning solution I should use before I put my ball python in it so I don't cross-contaminate?
Realistically, no. What you can do and what I often recommend, because you don't want to use harsh chemicals on the inside, but if you'd like to, you can use paper towel, water, baking soda. And the baking soda will act as an abrasive and it'll also help lift things off, but that's easy enough to rinse out completely. Try not to be too rough on the silicone. Not that you need to worry too much because you're not going to be filling it with water, but you also don't want to just muck it up. And that's it. That's it. And then rinse it out with warm water, hot water if you want. And if there's anything that's like stuck on there, you can use a flat razor blade on glass and scrape it off. Sometimes you'll get algae patches that are super stubborn and you just want to get them off. Just a simple flat razor. Just be careful. A little bit of water will go a long way with it too. It'll help lift the algae off, but that's all I ever really do when I'm cleaning tanks.
Cool. I have 8 mollies in my 20-gallon tank, and the males chase the females, but they won't breed. What does that mean?
8 mollies, 20-gallon, males chase females, won't breed. Chances are they do breed and you just don't catch it.
Just like the other question, like, you know, you just...
Yeah, you're probably not catching them actually doing it, or they're not sexually mature yet, and it's just not going anywhere. But yeah, females don't want to get bred all day long. They'll get in there every once in a while and it'll be successful. But males are very insistent. They're going to want to continue to chase females. They're not going to want to stop. Their drive when they see females, especially if the females are actually sexually mature, it's very hard for those males to slow down and be like, I should leave them alone for a while. They don't really get it, especially if there's other males for competition there. They're all just like, I got to get my genes in. I got to get my genes in. Hey, my genes. It's my important genes. I got the genes. I got to get the genes in. Exactly. So, yeah, but they probably are. If you had a camera on them 24/7, that'd be creepy. But if you did have a camera on them 24/7, you'd probably see that eventually, at some point in the day, they are successful.
My reef tank has been running for 2 years. I love this question, by the way. Running for 2 years, and everything's grown into each other, and I don't like the aquascape and want to change it and make more room. What's the best way to go about this?
Okay, so it's a project. Anytime you're changing the aquascape in an established aquarium, especially a reef, it's a bit of a project. So what I would probably do is set aside an entire day to get this done. You're going to want to determine what corals need to be moved from the rocks they're on and which ones are going to stay on those rocks, and those rocks are just going to get shifted. You're going to want to remove the corals from the rocks that aren't going to be staying on those rocks first to somewhere safe, like on one end of the tank where there's more substrate. Depends how much rock and stuff you have in the tank. But long story short, you got to move those corals first. Then you need to dismantle the rock structure, start re-aquascaping in the way you like the most. You also want to definitely have a good amount of water change, at least 50% of the volume of your aquarium, just ready in case. Because sometimes disturbing the rockscape and everything will kick up a lot of mulm, and it can cause oxygen levels in the tank to drop. It can cause ammonia to go up depending on what's actually happening because of trapped detritus. But you want to get the aquascape basically started to move around. If you're going to have accidental fragging, it's going to happen. There is no way that I can see anybody getting that accomplished without some coral being accidentally broken off or chipped or whatever. But you just have to be as careful as you can. And once one side of the tank is aquascaped the way you want, you can start moving the corals that are going to be on that side of the tank, on that rock structure, gluing them in place and all of that. Then you can work on the next side of the tank. And you kind of do it in stages like that. The only other way you can really do it is to get like a big Rubbermaid, like I think they're livestock containers, livestock waters. They're gigantic Rubbermaid like oblong tubs. You can drain your tank into that, move everything into that first temporarily, right? Have your lights and whatever set up on it if you need to, and then basically start piece by piece going back into the main system. It's a long process.
Sounds like it.
It sucks, but it can really be worth it in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, accidental fragging is probably just going to happen.
How are we doing for time?
Let's do a lightning round. Maybe we'll try to get through 5-6 questions, something like that.
Let's do it. What other tropical fish will eat snails apart from loaches?
Oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head, honestly. I usually rely on loaches pretty heavily as snail eaters.
Thomas, what do you think about bubble eye goldfish? I think it's cruel that the goldfish breeding has gone too far in many ways. What do you think?
I have had an issue with, or have taken issue with these types of goldfish for a long time. The thing is, I can see the aesthetics in it. Like, I understand why it's happening, but I do feel that fancy goldfish are not really, yeah, it's just cruel. Their spine, like their whole skeletal structures change. Their organs are shifted because of it. Things are just not. I'm not a fan of it. But yeah.
How are the baby chickens? Or the chickens in general?
Oh, they're good.
Someone asked you that. So.
No, that's awesome. Chickens are doing good. So my chickens are doing great. I actually hatched some chickens. I built an incubator, had some success. Of 6 eggs that made it to lockdown, only 3 hatched. The other 3 were quitters, unfortunately. But a good friend of mine, Sam in Nova Scotia here, had taken a bunch of eggs for me and hatched them out in her professional incubator. It's a much nicer incubator than my DIY one.
I like your DIY one. I'm not going to be...
It works. Okay, it works.
Sweet, yeah.
But long story short, she hatched out a whole whackload of chicks for me. So I've got a whole bunch of really kind of cool barnyard mixes.
Those are the ones at your house the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, man, they were super cute and fuzzy, and I wanted to keep one, but I didn't. I promised.
I'm really enjoying them. So...
Awesome. Can I keep 4 young angelfish in a 45-gallon tank? Tank mates are 8 to 10 neon tetras.
Yes, you could. Really important to consider, though, that as those angels grow, those neons are going to look more and more like food. And if all 4 of those angels end up adults, you're probably going to end up wanting a bigger tank. So if you plan to upgrade in the future, you could definitely do it. But just be aware, angels are predatory cichlids, realistically. And as adults, they sometimes will go after smaller fish, even if they don't actually fit in their mouth, which is the most frustrating thing, to watch an angel go around trying to eat fish and just kill them. Not even succeeding.
Yeah. What's the best way to feed my fish while I'm away? Timer feeder, time release tabs, other?
Big fan of timer feeders. Big fan. I like the Eheim ones personally. Time release tabs can also be okay. Just keep in mind, a lot of the time they end up tinting your water, and you're going to have to do a few water changes and add something to your tank, like clarity and like a nice tight weave filter floss to pull it out after, because the part that dissolves just stays in the water. And then it releases the food out of it.
And what do you suggest for betta tank mates?
Snails.
About it?
Yeah, if it's like, are we talking just like a small beta tank, 5 gallons, 10 gallons, something like that, just the beta? I like putting either fish that the beta is just very unlikely to go after, like catfish, things that stay on the bottom out of the beta's way, or just things that aren't going to trigger the beta at all. So snails or other invertebrates, the beta is not even going to take notice for the most part. And that's it.
Cool. Well, that said, we're gonna call it a day here.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I had a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys so much, everyone, for showing up for these. I know a lot of you want longer Q&As. We keep hearing you guys say, go for longer, do longer. And we're gonna try our best whenever we can. I do want to mention that we've spoken, the 2 of us.
We have spoken. We
have spoken in our spare time. And we suggested that perhaps in the new year, we are going to give it a shot trying these Q&As on Saturday mornings at, I think it was like 11 Eastern Standard Time. Like
something around
11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday rather than every Wednesday. So you guys who are at work, you guys can actually...
Benjamin.
Don't go longer, I need lunch. I don't blame you, Benjamin P. Thanks for making the sacrifice to show up for us today. That's awesome. So guys, let us know right now while we're wrapping up if Saturdays would be awesome for you guys, and we will try and make that change for you in the new year. With that said, also I got a notification today or yesterday that on our YouTube channel we are now eligible to, I guess YouTube is doing what every other social platform is doing and enabling the stories function.
Oh man, okay.
So I'm thinking what we'll do when this is all done is you and I can pick one random question that we still have in the list here. One random question. One part of our story will be reading it. The next part will be you answering it, and that'll be our first official story.
Okay.
Just for fun.
Just for kicks.
Yeah, just for kicks. And then, I'll be using this, like when I come to yours for shoots or something, I can use these.
100%.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll do that after this. So check out that stories function. Check out this our story. It's our first one. I'm excited. So we'll pick one random question from you guys. With that said, again, make sure you guys share our channel, like, subscribe, all that. The more word gets out, the better. The bigger we get, the better videos we can do and more videos and all that fun stuff. Thank you for coming over to my house again.
Always. Keep on tanking?
Yeah, I guess so. Keep on tanking.
Sorry, I'm still reading everybody's questions and stuff. I love you guys so much, and I like seeing what's going on. So if I ever look like I'm drifting off into the future, it's because I'm actually staring at the chat. I know it's Brian's job, but I like to do it too.
He does. Yeah, a lot of the time he's read the question.
So yeah,
it really limits the point of me being here.
I know. I'm sorry,
but I'm never leaving now.
No,
so,
you have to stay.
I'm in.
I could never do this without you now.
I have my own segment now.
Yeah,
I'm in. So anyway, okay, guys, thanks again for everything, and as always,
keep on tanking.